All right, guys, welcome. I am here with longtime friend and football colleague, somebody that knows a ton about soccer, somebody that's grown up in Southern California, that trains at the highest youth levels there is, a student of the game, 40 plus years like myself. So we've been obviously talking World Cup this whole month, like everybody else on planet Earth. We're here at the final stages, Andrew. Andrew May, by the way, everybody. Dream final, Argentina against France in Qatar. PSG owned Qatar. Mbappe and Messi owned Qatar. We're a few days away, Andrew. So I don't know if you want to say an opening remark, and then we'll just touch a bunch of
Christmas
bullet
came
points.
early. No, Christmas came early for you. Merry Christmas. There's your present. Dream final. Thanks, FIFA. I don't know if you're giving the money to FIFA or how you're doing it, but there you go.
Oh,
Dream
Christmas came
final.
early for me. For me.
You.
Oh,
Yeah.
for me, it would have been if the USMNT was in the final.
Oh, okay. Well, you've been in Qatar for like a month, so somehow that.
Ah, muy bien. Yeah, hey, 34 games I've attended. Sunday will be 35. I think it's fair to say that it's once in a lifetime. That'll never happen again. A World Cup like this in one city where you can attend so many games. I think it's fair to say that the organization, I think I've tweeted this, has been incredible, second to none. The infrastructure, incredible. The treatment from everybody here, incredible. All the narratives that were given pre-World Cup about, I don't even want to go there, Andrew, but all the false narratives, it couldn't be the complete polar opposite. It's been spectacular here in Qatar. So that being said, let's talk final. Let's not talk about that nonsense and politics and all that stuff. Let's talk. I'm going to open up, Andrew, and we haven't done this in a while, so let's just spitball back and forth. Mbappe. Mbappe, let me read the quote. Mbappe said a few months back, when we get to the World Cup, the European teams are more prepared than Brazil and Argentina, since in South American soccer is not as advanced as in Europe. That's why when you look at the latest World Cups, it's always Europeans who win. So that is massive bulletin board material. I'm telling you right now because I'm here, the narrative, the media, the players, they want to obviously win the World Cup for so many reasons, but they want to shut this guy up and prove him 1,000% wrong. Being of South American descent, it's very competitive in South America. CONMEBOL qualifying is arguably the hardest region in the world. It's not beautiful pitches and beautiful stadiums and calm environments. No, you have to go to war every single time. Everybody here that's used to CONCACAF talk about, oh, you got CONCACAF, oh, the referees, oh, it's so hard to play in Honduras. You have no fucking idea how hard it is to go to the altitude in Bolivia, you can't breathe, or to go in Ecuador at noon and play in Quito in altitude and can't breathe. And you have, as you saw, you have an Ecuadorian team that is ridiculously talented. Going to Chile and playing this experienced group, going to Uruguay, people have no clue. So Mbappe and his words, in my opinion, are errant, and it's bulletin board material, and we'll see on Sunday. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's something Scaloni uses. That's for sure. I mean, he doesn't really have to post it. Everybody knows exactly what it is. The only thing I would say in terms of Mbappe's quote is that, yeah, facts. The facts are that, yes, there's been European teams that have won, right? You got to go all the way back to 2002 for Brazil. So, yes, European teams have won. Have they won because of that? That's the biggest problem I have with it, because you look at their qualifying group, and we were discussing this a little bit earlier, but the Ukraines and Bosnia and stuff like that, just to get through their qualifying, Kazakhstan, just to get through their qualifying group, you can't compare that to CONMEBOL, where you are playing home and away. That's it. And so you go to the Bolivias, you go to Ecuador. Sometimes they're just fighting for ties. They'll sit back. They'll kind of hope to get a point off of Argentina, Brazil, things like that. It's really, really tough, man. And I think that's something maybe naive for Mbappe. To be honest, that's his personality. That's typical of him. But it's going to light a fire under the Argentines. That's for sure.
Andrew, having watched so many years all these qualifying fixtures in South America, Copa America, Copa Libertadores, it's a different type of physicality, no? Like in Europe, they're extremely powerful and strong and pace, and Mbappe leaves all that in the dust. But when you receive 40, 50 yards from goal and a Venezuelan is scraping your ankle and then, oh, I'm sorry, and pretending it's an accident, helping you up off the ground, that doesn't happen very often in Europe. Everybody's such gentleman-like, you know what I mean? Yeah, they get stuck in and all that. but it's a different type of physicality. Like Neymar, Vinicius, we're talking about this. Vinicius, Richarlison, Copa America final in Maracanã when Argentina beat Brazil. They alternated, hacking the living shit out of these guys, making them fly through the air, violence, because you have to set the tone. And it's the only way to slow down that train of Vinicius or that train of Mbappe. You can't play nice and roll out the red carpet. So we'll talk about that in a bit, but I think Argentina is going to get stuck in nasty early, and people are going to go back to all the Argentinians, not playing nice.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that like the Argentines to me are better prepared for this, right? They're better prepared to get kicked, get hit. They've been in these types of wars and everything. Plus, never mind the fact that they have a guy that's completely driven to when we're almost possessed. And I think that Argentina is better prepared for it. France is not. Unfortunately, they're not, because, like you said, they're playing in these soft environments, in a way, in comparison. And they're used to getting everything. As soon as Mbappe gets kicked a few times, my word, good luck. Is he going to shut down? He hasn't, of course, been at his best all World Cup and so forth. Do I see it really happening? I don't see him being at his best in the final, but he can always make one play, and that's the difference.
So Andrew, let's talk about Argentine team news. Formations. They've changed formations. They've changed tactics throughout the entire World Cup. A big part of it is the absence of Di Maria through injury. A big part of it is Di Maria's natural replacement also was a last-minute scratch, Nico Gonzalez from Fiorentina. Very good white player, very good individual player that can take people on. So left on the roster, there aren't many of those. So instead of insisting with a formation that you don't have the right profile for, they've made adjustments based on their strengths and based on their opponent's strengths. Obviously, we saw that in Croatia, where it went to a 4-4-2 to try to neutralize that central midfield of Croatia. The game before against Holland, 3 in the back. It's changed almost from game to game. So before I give you my take, I'm curious to think how you see Scaloni lining the team up, knowing France's qualities and knowing Argentina's qualities for Sunday.
I think the big thing is balance, right? Between the two teams is all about balance. Because you have a player like Mbappe and because you have a player on the other side like Messi, it's about getting this balance right. The Argentines, of course, will be, probably in my opinion, will be having most of the ball, because that's how the French have liked to do it. And then, of course, trying to look and hit them on the counter. But the balancing piece comes to where, what is the role of Mbappe in this defensive moment? What is the role of Messi in these defensive moments? So getting the balance right. The biggest question I think I have is whether or not it's a midfielder for Argentina that will make the difference, like you said, against Croatia, where they put another one in there, or whether or not it's going to be requiring an extra center back and playing I'm going to say 5-3-2, because that's probably what it's going to ultimately look like. But I think that it's about your 2v1s, right? So if you have a plus center midfielder in there, it's about your 2v1. Can I go in and can I help? When Mbappe is isolated in 1v1 situations, I got to go and help, scrape, kick, hit, whatever it may be. If it's a third center back, if they bring in Lissandro or whatever in that back, that's to help in 2v1s. I can see center backs jumping in. They go to a 3, the center back jumping into the midfield to give the Argentines an extra number in there. So either way, 3-5-2, 4-4-2, it's all about your 2v1s, whether it's a third center back or an extra midfielder in there.
So, Andrew, to paint it clear for everybody, it's either Cuti Romero from Tottenham, the right central defender. He's going to slide over and help Molina deal with Mbappe 2v1 if it's a line of 5. If it's a line of 4, then it's going to have to be De Paul dropping a channel and working with Molina and covering Mbappe that way. So depending on, obviously, what they see in video and what they decide, it'll be one of those two. You're not saying 4-3-3, Di Maria back, fully fit, let's get after France?
I see no reason why Di Maria starts this game. He's been fine. Of course, they were probably looking to bring him on against Croatia if they needed to. They clearly didn't. Gives him extra rest. I think he's somebody that you can bring in 60th minute, which is the common minute to make changes in a game, and be fresh then run at him. My opinion is
keep a match winner on the bench.
To me, this game is about which coach and which team, which players are going to adapt to the other one. mid-game, because they're going to have their starting, hey, this is how I want my team to set up. This is where I think we can hurt them. But in the game, as you know, things start to change. There's, again, what is the role of Messi? What is the role of Mbappe? And all of a sudden, the game changes. And whether it's the coach making those changes within the game or players adapting to the game, that's going to be the difference. And Di Maria can be that. All of a sudden, he tweaks the formation. Scaloni tweaks the formation a little bit with roles and responsibilities. And next thing you know, Di Maria's in and slices and dices and has no problem.
If it's needed. If it's 3-0 like the other day, it's not needed, huh?
I think you want more for Christmas right now. I'm getting
Andrew, no, but you said something that is very clear. Everybody comes out with their plan. And in the first 10-15 minutes, as the casual fans, as the high-end coaches, as the people that see the game different, you start seeing what the tendency is, what your opponent's doing, where they're standing, where their starting points are, what the key players are doing. Are they pressing us? Are they sitting in a mid-block? You start seeing how the game's playing now, and then you mold your plan accordingly, right? Everybody has a plan at this level, A, B, C, and D, and then you adjust, right? So it's going to be fascinating to see how both teams line up, and are they going to be aggressive? Are you going to go press? Like, really, is Mbappe and Dembele going to change who they are and go press? Probably not. Are they going to turn back and chase somebody 30 yards? Probably not. So I think you're accurate in how you say it, Andrew, that Argentina is going to have the ball and dictate the game. Now it's about positioning and having the lines tight to repress and not give Mbappe and Dembele running room. We'll talk about Griezmann in a minute. I want to go through a bullet point that I have here. Team unity, Andrew, right? Being involved as a coach for so many years at the youth level, obviously this is a different level. Something that stuck out to me, and then I want to bring like a different aspect to the audience, is this Argentine team, for the neutrals that don't know, is the most united team I've ever seen, period. Okay, Argentine football or any football. This last summer, mid-June, when all these millionaires are on their vacations, respective spots, they all met up for Messi's birthday in Ibiza. All 26 members of the team were there for 2 or 3 days together with their wives, girlfriends, a united group. Nobody does that, Andrew. Nobody. Okay. 2 weeks later, same thing for Paredes' birthday. Every member of the team was there. That's absurd. That's unheard of. So historically, Argentina's downfall has been stars, cliques, separation. Rodrigo de Paul, for what he brings on the pitch, he has been the key member to unite the group, the veterans, the young guys, the medium guys, and his role in this team in terms of creating this group, and Scaloni and Aymar and Samuel and Ayala. Somebody here in Qatar pointed out to me, and I want to get your take on it. Those 4 footballers, which we all followed when we were younger, they have a clean record, meaning not one of them has ever been in any scandal in terms of bad behavior as a player, indiscipline, women, affairs, all this disaster that happens with footballers. The cleanest record ever, all 4 of these guys impeccable. And then they've built this group, and now this group is so united and everybody's pulling the same direction. And yes, there's 45 million Argentinians, and usually that created pressure in the past, but it's so weird in the media and social media and the following that there is now. There's no critics. These guys lost to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, a few people were concerned, but the players said, hey, we're okay. Everybody keep believing in us. And here we are, fast forward 3 weeks later, 5 games later, and they're in the final. So how important is this united group? Because there's the counter argument, Andrew, that you don't have to be best friends. You just got to get on the pitch and do your job. Thoughts?
In a World Cup, when we're talking about nationalities coming together as a group, I cannot tell you how important that is. I think that narrative of, hey, you don't have to be best friends and this and that, I think that only is a case in club soccer when you're playing for Real Madrid or whatever it may be, day in and day out. But when you're coming together as a nation, I cannot tell you how crucial that is, where you are in a camp where you have to then sacrifice and say, hey, I'm usually the star at my club, but now I'm going to be the bench player. I'm going to be the cheerleader for you guys. I'm going to help you guys in any way I can, whether it's in training, whether it's, again, cheerleading on the sideline. I think you heard or you saw the Argentine bench chanting with the fans during games and things like that. That's incredible. I think having these guys Scaloni specifically, right? A guy with no track record, just coaching the youth national teams in Argentina, and having this small. He did an incredible job by not putting himself in the front, but putting the team in front and really pushing that narrative, putting guys next to him that are all liked in all different aspects. Aymar, kind of a quiet type of leader and things like that, but respected because he could play. Samuel, somebody, and Ayala, two guys that, hey, know how to lead and know how to motivate. And, you know, I think that this has really changed. I like your take on this, because it's really changed the Argentine perspective of pressure. They don't feel the pressure. It's a joy for them, right? I think we always talk about Brazil enjoying their football, playing fantastic, this and that. You can just see that the Argentines are enjoying it. The fans are enjoying it. Everybody's enjoying it. Everybody's pushing for Messi to win. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody wants Messi to win. Okay, it's going to be a brilliant thing for that. So I agree with you. Unity is key.
No, for sure. A couple of things that you said, Andrew. The players, obviously post game, they're celebrating and chanting the songs and all that. But I had good seats for multiple games, and I'm right in front of the guys warming up. And Dybala hasn't played 1 minute, and Dybala is a superstar in his club and the world stage. And as he's running, warming up, he is mouthing the words of the songs. He is like, these guys are all bought in. They're all fans. Like, it's a cultural thing, Andrew, obviously, right? So enormous. Yeah, the support. That's another thing we'll talk about later. Talk to me about France. Obviously, listen, we're not discovering anything. Individual brilliance all over the field. We know Benzema's out. We know Kante's out. Pogba's out. Lucas Hernandez out. Kimpembe out. And Nkunku out. We know, okay? And for this team to reach the final, and listen, they've had a couple hurdles, but it looks so effortless at times. Without those key pieces, it's remarkable. No, it's remarkable.
I think that's something Deschamps has to get credit for as well. The fact that he's made some adaptations to his lineups, putting players where he needs to go, and obviously we can talk about Griezmann and things like that. But ultimately, he has to be given some credit where he's dealt with blow after blow after blow. And yes, France has, luckily, they have sometimes 3 guys at every spot. So he's fortunate in that way, but he's had to get them to buy into, hey, this is what we're doing, right? Hey, Griezmann, this is what I'm going to ask of you. This is how I feel we're going to be successful. And Griezmann, buys into it. And we can argue he's the player of the tournament. And maybe somebody that like Mbappe, who's not as open-minded, my take on his personality again, is that he's not as open-minded to it, but ultimately Deschamps has to convince these guys this is the best way. This is the best thing to do it. I really liked how he's kind of played a little bit like this, where Hernandez is a little bit higher up the field on Mbappe's side, so Mbappe can have the luxury to kind of roam, and on the other side, just leave Dembele wide. So I like his and I like his setup. I like his scheme that he's put his group into. They haven't made many changes to it like the Argentines have. So it almost makes it more predictable for Scaloni to say, hey, these are the starting 11 for France. This is how they're going to set up and play. And on the other side, it's a little bit harder for Deschamps to say, oh, shoot, they're going to do this, right? So I'm seeing Argentina a little bit more there.
No, valid point. And Andrew, back to the point of the French and their depth. They're in the final and they're missing key figures, but let's not pretend that the players that are playing, Tchouameni, Real Madrid, Koundé, Barcelona, Dembélé, Barcelona, Upamecano, Bayern Munich, Konate, Liverpool, let's not pretend that they're slouches, okay? A lot of people, the depth. Okay, they're not playing for Stade Rennes, or they're not playing for Columbus Crew or whatnot. These are elite level footballers who, of course, have to come together. Some of them are experienced. We'll talk about that. 5 starters are back from last final. 5. Lloris, Varane, Mbappe, Gris, and Giroud. And if you want to count Theo Hernandez, it's 5.5 because last final was Lucas Hernandez, right? Unfortunately, he had the horrible injury early in this tournament. So they have experience, which I know you're very big on. But yeah, this is an incredibly well-formed team. Their 4-3-3 is spot on, like you said, based on their players' strengths. You know, and Mbappe floating in spaces, Lucas higher, Koundé is not really an attacking presence, more tucked in. Tchouameni does everything right, a little bit of a physical presence. Rabiot, even though he's got this big profile, is more of a footballer than he is a destroyer. Griezmann, in my opinion, after Messi, the best player in this tournament, more complete, right? He's done everything. The other day I tweeted, you know, big minerals. Literally, he was in his own six clearing balls and making plays because that's what the game required. And he rolled up the sleeves and he said, he didn't say, I'm Antoine Griezmann. I don't do that. No, Antoine Griezmann rolled up the sleeves and said, whatever is needed to win. And it's so weird. Every World Cup, this guy's in his best form. Last World Cup, he was ridiculous. And in 2014, he was in top form. Like, it's World Cup year. This guy's remarkable, man. This is a remarkable footballer. And seeing him play live here, he's just so smooth. This is the key player. We'll talk about that in a second. In my opinion, just like you stated, he is the key figure that Argentina has to eliminate, because cutting off Griezmann, the supply to the other guys won't be there. This is the only guy who could play a killer pass. Great. Play Mbappe's feet. Good luck Mbappe slaloming through 3 or 4 guys. You're going to get your leg amputated. But you know that Mbappe could lose his man good and get into space. Griezmann's the only one that could provide that pass. So I think Griezmann's World Cup has been splendid. And if Griezmann has a monster of a day, France has a good chance of winning. If Griezmann is contained and the ball gets into him like he was doing against Frankie de Jong, I think that's going to be his assignment. You track Griezmann, play a little bit of football for us, but when we lose it, where the hell is Antoine Griezmann? That's your job. We'll see.
Yeah, but listen, I'll end a little bit on this, France, is that with Mbappe, even though probably he hasn't been at his best, arguably, he can turn it on. It's always going to attract, again, 2, 3, possibly even 4 Argentines around him. It's what Dembele does for me now. Dembele, we've seen it in Barcelona. He could be really, really good, or he could be really, really bad, right? So I picture him being the one that, of course, Scaloni and all the players are focusing on Mbappe. And you're right, Griezmann's the only one that can get him the ball. If they don't give it to him, then all of a sudden it's, what does Dembele do, right? Are they switched on and focused there? And if this guy wants to, he can create anything off the dribble, whatever it may be. But if he's slow and he's methodical in the things he does, then it just allows Argentina to slide over and the 2v1s on their part, and they cannot lose sight of then Mbappe. So I'll be curious to see if Champs wants Dembele to get on the ball more early so that the Argentines get attracted to him, and then look to unbalance between a little Mbappe, maybe a diagonal ball to break that back 5.
No, valid point. Oh man, we're less than 72 hours away, Andrew. Again, we've already touched on this. This is a point that I wanted to see is your opinion tactically, how the game was going to play out. We talked about it briefly. You think Argentina's going to have the ball. You think France, because France could have the ball too. They're that good. But their biggest strength is, can we hurt you with space? So Argentina's very good with space, as we saw the other day against Croatia. They give Croatia a little bit of the initiative, and with Julian Alvarez, it changes things. So back to keys to the game, Andrew. It's going to be fascinating to see the first 15 minutes, how they play out, who does what. But I see it like you said, Argentina having the ball the majority of the time. Can they repress good and not give time and space to get the ball to those 2 dangerous wingers? We talked zero about Giroud, okay? With so many weapons, with Griezmann, with Dembele, with Mbappe. This is a player who fixes the center backs, who doesn't get in anybody's spaces or ways, and is in the box and assassinates in the box. The highest scoring French guy ever. We saw this World Cup, 4 goals. Last World Cup, 0 goals. Did a different job. But again, you can't fall asleep, because 1 chance in the box and he buries you. He trips on the ball. He's terrible on the ball. His link-up play is not great. His defending, he just jogs about a little bit. He stands on the 6 a little bit. He's everything I hate, okay? But he fucking buries you, Andrew May. So let's not forget about Giroud, man.
No, and I think that's a part of me and Dembele is, if Dembele beats a guy down the line, is he able to get his service in? If he cuts in on his left and he hits these diagonal balls, diagonal crosses, double intentions into it, it's just a glancing header from Giroud and you're screwed. So yes, I think that guy plays a massive role, but ultimately I think guys like Otamendi, Romero, like I think they can handle it, especially if they get the 2v1s and deny the service as much as possible. The key to the game, again, like I said before in the beginning, is all about balance. It's all about balance. Who gets the balance right? Who's able to manage the depth, especially in the transitions? And there you go. If it's Argentina, then Argentina will be on top. If it's France, then France will be on top. That's how I see it.
Okay, not to go all over the place. Last one I want to touch on is Julian Alvarez, who many people have probably discovered during this World Cup. You discovered a little bit because you've seen him at City. Just an outrageous player who, I don't know if it's appreciated on TV, how he stretches teams. Every single time Argentina's on the ball and a dangerous player, which we have Enzo Fernandez, there's the best playmaker on the planet in Leo Messi. McAllister has a final ball. De Paul has a little bit of service. If Di Maria is playing, he has a final ball. Every time he makes runs in behind. It is incredible to see. Incredible every time. And as you saw in Croatia, we are very dangerous as well. We being Argentina right now, hitting those moments with Julian Alvarez. A complete unique profile a 9 that I like because he stretches you. And because when we don't have the ball, he goes and he eats your face. He is relentless. I don't know if it's been appreciated on TV as well, Andrew. It is absurd what this kid runs. It is absurd how he closes hard. It is absurd. The other day, a ball was lost in the sixth. He transitions and knocks Modric on the sideline, and it was clean. It wasn't even a foul. They called a foul because it was Modric. He's everywhere. Can Varane, who also isn't the best version of Varane, can Varane deal with it? Can either Upamecano or Konate deal with it? I almost think key player for Argentina is offensively Julian, more so than Messi. And I think defensively does De Paul track and do the job against Griezmann? And then on the flip side, can the French center backs contain Julian? And then the wingers we know are the difference makers, but Antoine Griezmann, if he's pulling strings, Argentina's in trouble. Those are the keys that I'm going to spotlight. That's what I think the game lies. But when you get to the World Cup final, Andrew, you have a plan. In 3 minutes, 5 minutes, it could all go out the window with one big play. No, it's insane.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, man. I think it's about that. It's about these guys that, yeah, we would like to say Mbappe is going to make the big difference. Messi's going to make the big difference, but it's these other guys. It's the collective that all of a sudden you're paying too much attention to these other ones. These other guys hurt you. And what I find absurd is that City goes out, specifically gets rid of Jesus, gets Alvarez for this particular reason. He does X, Y, and Z. That's something that's massive. It gives the guy confidence. Pep said that he was going to win, right, in the locker room and things like that. That gives that guy confidence. Like,
Andrew,
hey, I can
tell the story. Maybe a lot of people watching have no idea.
Basically that they were all talking in the locker room that it was going to be this guy, it was going to be that guy, it was going to be these teams, not some South American team, not Argentina, but it was going to be all these other ones, right? It's going to be France and so forth. So really Pep tells him, no, guys, it's going to be this guy that wins it. It's going to be Julian Alvarez that's going to win it, and he's going to be the guy. And as a player, you feel that I can play with Messi. I can be on the field with Di Maria. I can play for my nation, right? As needed, by the way. When Scaloni calls on him and says, hey, again, injury or whatever, we see that you're going to play this role, he steps in and he does his role. And I think I agree with you. I think France focus on Messi, and there you go. It'll open up
first guy in that age range since Pelé to score a brace in a semifinal. Andrew, this kid, listen, he's River Plate kid that just arrived at City. Enzo Fernandez, we haven't said a word about. An outrage of a player, the Benfica player. I've followed the Portuguese league, in the last year or so. He's arrived at Benfica. He's killed it. This is for people that don't know. Enzo Fernandez, number 24 in Argentina's midfield, who arrived at Benfica for the first day, killed it. Undefeated, by the way, Benfica. Champions League, first place, played every game, scored goals, creator, composed on the ball, an absolute outrage of a player. The Argentine media, proper media for Argentina, always pressing Enzo. He wasn't a part of the national team setup. September FIFA window, Argentina played friendlies in the U.S., Jamaica, and Honduras. He gets called in. He gets an opportunity, 30 minutes against Honduras, kills it, comes in and kills it. Then the Lo Celso injury happens, gets selected to the World Cup at 26-man almost, comes in. First game against Saudi Arabia, we're having a shocker. They inserted him, killed it for those 30 minutes. Match day 2, didn't start against Mexico. World Cup on the line, comes in, kills it. Apart from his goal, just impeccable performance on both sides of the ball. Third game against Poland, ran the whole game. Fourth game against Australia, killed it. Fifth game up against Frankie de Jong and killing it. This game, he had a 10-minute spell in the second half where I wasn't happy with him, but we're talking about 10 minutes out of the entire last calendar year that he's played bad. This kid is an outrage. 21 years old, Andrew. Was on the outside looking in always. We always talk about our players and the young prospects and the youth players. What an example. No, you always have to be ready. Always. This guy's going to play a fucking World Cup final now.
Yeah, it's insane. Alongside Messi. What a dream for all these young guys. That's for sure.
No, crazy. This guy even wrote an open letter. Remember when Messi retired from the national team?
Oh, yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. Enzo Fernandez, a 16-year-old kid back then, wrote and posted on social media a long letter like this. You got to Google it. Basically, having goes at all the Argentine media and critics and fans, like, how are we going to criticize you who has done so much for us in these low moments? It's all about our social incapacity to deal with our own problems, our own lives. Like a 16-year-old wrote this passionate, long letter urging Messi, please play and give us the happiness that you've given us always. Now he's lining up next to this guy, dude. And not only lining up, saving Argentina's ass, saving Messi's World Cup. A remarkable story. We'll see if the cherry on top comes on Sunday. Andrew, lineups. We haven't even gone lineups. My opinion, okay? Argentina's going to go with 5 in the back. The only coin flip is it Acuna on the left or Tagliafico, who was incredible against Croatia. Acuna has been very good. He was good against Holland. I think it's going to be Acuna. Lisandro Martinez, Otamendi, who quietly has had maybe the best center back of the World Cup. Right center back, Guti Romero, who I rate as the best, but he's come in with lack of match fitness as well, so he's grown into his role. Right back, I think it'll be Molina, even though Montiel in the Maracanã against Vinicius and Neymar laid pipe hard, so I wouldn't be shocked if they included him, but Molina's had such a good World Cup, I doubt it. In the middle, Enzo play with McAllister and De Paul, and then Julian and Messi up top, and I think the 3-5-2, 5-3-2. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that's probably spot on. Again, whether it's Martinez plays or Paredes, but I think ultimately Scaloni is going to go with a little bit more conservative and say, okay, at one point I'm going to have to bring in another midfielder, and so I need to keep Paredes ready. Obviously, he's going to bring in Di Maria at some point, so he's got to make sure he has fresh legs in there, higher up the field. So I think he's going to go with the 5-3-2. I'll say 5-3-2. That's for sure.
Andrew, but I mean, for the people watching, thank you, by the way. They have to understand that it's a 120-minute game. Then these types of games, knockout games in World Cups, you go in knowing that this game is beyond 90 minutes. That's why most teams have a conservative approach, because it's like, we don't have to win the game in 90 minutes. You know what I mean? You have to have a certain plans. Obviously, everybody would like to be up 3-0 in 20 minutes. But the managers have to think, like we just said, maybe a little bit more conservative, because what if I start Di Maria and in 60 minutes he's done? I have nothing left on the bench. No offensive weapon, at least. Lautaro's pulling a trailer, having a shocker. Dybala's not match fit. So this is your only key piece. Like, unless you're 1,000% convinced that he's going to win you the match in the first 60 and you have to win it in 90, it's the right move to bring him in later, correct?
It would be, but I think with that, anytime you're looking at, and they know more, right? Injuries and stuff like that. But something tells me that the fact that they were willing to keep him on the bench for the latter part of the game and not just give him a run out for 15 minutes, just as, get him some touches and stuff like that on the ball, tells me that they weren't exactly sure about it. So they'll hold back. They'll bring him on in 60, 65 minutes. Hopefully he can change the game and be able to finish out the game when especially France starts getting more and more tired.
Got you. Okay, French team. 4-3-3, Lloris in goal. By the way, Emi Martinez in goal, match-winning goalkeeper. One hated RG journalist pretty much said, hey, now we're competitive the last few years because we have 2 Messis on the field. We have a match winner in goal, and then we have Messi playing at a good version. So Emi Martinez in goal. Lloris, experience. I don't know. I don't see it with Lloris. I don't think he's an elite top 10 goalkeeper, but He's the captain. He's the captain of Tottenham. All his managers, when you watch these series, they all rate him. They all love him. They all say he's top. So Lloris in goal. Do you think it'll be Konate or Upamecano coming back from whatever the
I think it'll
that hit Kemp?
Upamecano.
Upamecano back, okay. Upamecano with Varane, Theo on the left, Koundé on the right. Even though they have Pavard, Pavard, who assassinated Argentina 4 years ago. Argentina was on the way to the upset of that game. 2-1 up, 25, 30 minutes left, and this guy, I don't even want to talk about it. Okay, in the midfield, Tchouaméni, it's clear. I think Rabiot will come back in for Fofana, and Griezmann will play. And then the front three, I think, are crystal clear. Mbappe, Giroud, Dembele. There's no mystery with France. Jesus, Andrew, we have the dream final. Last thing I want to ask you before I ask you for prediction is, I'm here. There's 40 to 50,000 Argentinians in Doha. Okay, I think every game's felt like a home game, minus the first game in Saudi Arabia where it was 50-50 and they were buzzing, so they were a little bit louder in the second half. The passion, the backing of this team, they got the credit, they got the backing, winning the Maracanã, winning that cup against Italy, the Intercontinental, going on that 37 game streak, having the best player in the world. There's belief. Like, to be honest, nobody cares that it's France. We wanted it to be France, right? Because, then people are going to say, you beat Morocco. We want it to be France. Is it important, this 40 or 50K in the stadium? Is it like a home game in Buenos Aires? Does that matter? Because then you have the counterpoint, counter argument. Fans don't play. Players play. Doesn't matter. Are the fans going to be a difference maker on Sunday in Lusail?
I mean, at the end of the day, ask Morocco, because when that stadium was filled and they were down still 1-0, they kept going and the fans were helping them and so forth. So listen, the Argentines will have that advantage over the French. My understanding is not a lot of French fans have made the trip, under 5,000, that's for sure.
Pecho frio, cold. They don't care.
Yeah.
Andrew, maybe half of the French population cares. Every Argentinian on this planet, it's life and death on Sunday.
It's a tad bit different, that's for sure. And again, that's why the advantage for me leans towards Argentina, Messi, and the way he's been, the personality he's really, really shown. Whether some people like it or not, I'm a big fan of it. I love it. He looks completely locked in. He's showing massive personality.
Hey, Bobo. Hey, give me that Bobo.
Yeah. I mean, you got to love it. You got to love it. Something that you haven't really seen from the guy, this incredibly locked in. And that just tells me that there's a man on a mission. He wants to win this thing. It's set up beautifully for this fairy tale. And the edge is going to go to Argentina. I don't want to sound like a typical 2-1. 2-1 is going to be the score line, because that's, I think, very common for people just to throw out something 2-1. However,
hey, you're the soccer Bible. You're the soccer Bible. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be 2-1. It's going to be 2-1 Argentina, because I can see them giving up a goal, that's for sure. But at the same time, I can see this French side. Upamecano, yes, will come back in. I think he's going to be the weak link in this back line. I don't think he's going to be able to handle it. Ultimately, 2-1 Argentina. There you go. Merry Christmas.
Well, I'll take anything. 0.5-0 is the saying. No matter what, win at all costs, right? Win at all costs. However it turns out, regulation, overtime, PKs.
This game's going to overtime, just FYI.
Hey, blasting the ball at the opposition's bench. Messi standing there like this at Van Gaal. What? Like you said, Andrew, you touched the topic. Everybody's always said he's a saint, that he needs to be more like Maradona, that he has to have more personality, that he has to do this, that he has to sing the national anthem. Well, now he's done it all, and now people are getting mad. Oh, Argentinians are cheats, back to all that nonsense. Listen, for everybody watching, vamos Argentina, sabe que yo te quiero, hoy hay que ganar y ser primero. Esta hinchada loca deja todo por la copa, la que tiene a Messi, Maradona. Yeah, I'm going to be one of them, guys. I dream of the day, Andrew May, in 2026, when we're improved, where we're competing at the world stage, where we're fighting for these games. We'll do a USMN team. I don't know if you'll join me in the next 24, 48 hours, because I want to recap the World Cup. The pros, the cons, the good, the bad. I know there's been the Geo Gate. I know there's been crisis mode. I don't understand any of it. I don't know why. We're all speculating here, but I would love to get your take because you're inundated in the whole setup as well. And yeah, guys, let's see what the World Cup brings. In my opinion, incredible World Cup. Obviously, I lived it live. Yeah, shoot me some Q&A for Andrew May and I, and we'll get back to you guys in the coming days. All right, Ansu, thank you very much, my friend. I know the fanatic came out, eh? The fanatic came
Yeah,
out.
stick to coaching.